Okay, Sridhar, I see you. Can you see me?
Yes, I can. I can.
Okay, good. Well, I thought we would take a few more minutes and start where we left off last time, where we had just talked about the Kennedy assassination and how that affected you living in India. And we were hoping you would tell us more about the next years in India and how, I guess, world politics affected you.
Okay. You know, well, post the Kennedy assassination, obviously, we all followed throughout the world, the taking over, as president. Uh, but then I think what I would call the friction with the US, which existed around Kennedy and his family, to a large extent, it looked as if a fairy tale had ended. So there was a wait and watch attitude as far as I was concerned, what was happening in the US. Though I did keep track with, what was happening in the civil rights movement, which was very inspiring.
Mm.
Both Johnson and his, what I would call the enactment of the civil rights, and of course another one from the Kennedy family, Bobby Kennedy, being the Attorney General, and then deciding to run against when Johnson decided not to run, for president. Bobby Kennedy threw his, and obviously immediately all of us then said, "Hey, Bobby Kennedy was our guy."
Right.
So. And by that time, I had graduated. I had left school. I had graduated from university, and this was around, in 1968.
Okay.
I was working, to pay for my airfare to go to the UK, where I was going to do my training as an accountant. I had been accepted in a firm in the UK. So, and it was again connecting it to the Kennedy family. It was during one of those work days that I was sitting in the office when some guy was listening to the radio came and to this room. In this room, there are about 200 of us working in our desks, one after the other. It's like an old type, factory type, office kind, And he said, "Hey, Kennedy just died. Bob Kennedy just died." And that must have been, looking at the timing, must have been not when he got shot, but when he actually died. It would have been, I think he died around 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning, which would be around 2 o'clock, if it was California, would be around 2 o'clock our time in India. And that was another sort of, what?
Right.
So again, that was this sort of a, but in the meantime, I had, of course, been following, what the US was doing in Vietnam. My brother had come back from the from the UK, and he introduced another point of magazine. He also written, which was a British newspaper, which was more progressive from both the American and rest of the world aspect, more from a left of center, influenced, your thinking, Vietnam and areas to why if one country goes one by one, all the other countries will go, and that's so we've got to have a sort of a red line, those freedoms. And so I used to read avidly about what happened in Vietnam, as well as about the various peace, agreements and stuff like that. So
now, did you question? You mentioned he was listening to his radio. So was TV?
Not yet there.
No.
I never seen television except in a convention or somewhere special.
Okay.
Until I went to the UK in 1968.
Okay, and then you mentioned USIS. Is that what you said?
Yeah, that is United States Information Service.
Okay.
It's like Voice of America, but a physical place.
Okay.
Where you go. It's a library. You got information.
Okay. Oh, all right. Well, that makes sense. Okay, so I interrupted you, but you were just talking about your brother coming back and
yeah. So what I'm saying that in the house, we had both point of view, and in fact, I can recall when I went to the US, when I went to the UK, and I was actually reading Time magazine in a bus, in a double-decker bus in Manchester, and this gentleman came up to me, saw me, and he said, "If you're reading that, then you will believe that spaghetti grows on trees." That was his view. of
Yeah.
Time magazine. You know what our president now calls fake news. You know,
Ah, yeah,
he
yeah, yeah.
thought he thought that Time magazine was very skewed towards a particular view of the world, and that I was getting misinformed. I was reading the Guardian or the New Statesman, so I never worried about the
Yeah.
source of the information. But it kept my interest in in the U.S., especially U.S. politics,
Mm-hmm.
and processes for making decisions.
Yeah.
Burger Court, which was looking at the assassination, the U.S. political process. Even when I was even when I went to the U.K. in 19, it just interested me, and I think, of course, then with Nixon, I just I don't think anybody else in the UK did. I don't know why I did it. I
Well,
used to be able to. Yeah.
because you personally can barely remember the Kennedy assassination myself, and but I don't know what to you, living in India, what America represented to you, if anything. But
I,
it seems that it would have struck me that people are getting shot all over the place. I mean, you got Kennedy, Bobby, Martin Luther King Jr. I mean, did you just think, wow, what a scary place?
but you got to understand that we had but our history also, India had also gone through freedom struggle, and we had our own sort of shootings and other things under the British rule.
Uh,
So it was not just the cause. So Martin Luther King, the civil rights movement, and following the "We Shall Overcome" marches kind of thing was something which and I think it was partly me in particular. I was very influenced by my elder brother, who was very, very politically, conscious and had strong opinions. When he returned from the UK in 1963-64. Then we started having the influence, his influence, because he spent 2 years overseas. He had spent 2 years in the UK. Okay. So we had a different perspective.
Right.
Plus, he had met some Peace Corps people, in Calcutta. So he invited them home. So the house was always full of Peace Corps volunteers, who'd come from the US. So in fact, they would share their Kool-Aids, with us, and their care packages. They would eat those, and they would eat my money, So the influence of the US, and there was one lady in particular, Marcia Singleton, who was very, very study at the University of Texas in Austin, which is where she was from. And the University of Texas had just started, but I toyed with that idea because I did want to come to the US, because I knew that at some point in time I'll come to the US.
Yeah.
But I had just finished university in India, and I said I don't want to spend only 3 more years, in college. So I took the job in the UK, and with the hindsight, I regret it. I should have come to the US and had the experience of a US campus, but I did not. Yeah. I did not. So we had a lot of influences of people from the US, on our thinking, and that just continued.
And then you mentioned Watergate. You being interested in politics, I imagine that had an effect on you too.
It did. As I said, I was equally sort of following the elections and things in the UK, But when Watergate occurred, it was very, very intriguing. And at first I said, this is just a break-in. What's all this about? Why are they making such a big fuss, about something like this? How does it reach the presidency? And I still, I could argue whether, where my allegiance or what it was, but I was interested in the process of discovery which went through. It was like reading a novel.
Yeah.
It's like reading a novel. Oh, there's John Mitchell, something happened to him. Oh, there's John Dean, there's Ehrlichman. So I knew all the names of who was what and who did what to whom, where it occurred. So it just became like reading a sort of a novel on a daily basis.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because
but what it did for me, Robin, this is very, very critical. It got me very interested in U.S. politics.
Yeah.
All these things were just a precursor to the abiding interest I continues to this day.
Right, and was kind of getting you ready to live in America.
Yeah, absolutely. Because my brother, when I went to the UK in '68, my brother, whom came to the US in '69.
Yeah.
He came to the US in '69 to Atlanta.
Okay.
And then moved over to. And when he moved over, I said, I should also move, and I had applied for my firm.
Oh, okay.
But then I met my, so not in '69, sorry. In 74, 75, I was thinking of moving over to the US, and I applied to my firm, and but then I met my present wife, and I deferred that decision.
You did.
But then 10 years later, we both moved in '84 to the US.
When did you get here? In '84?
'84. Yeah.
Awesome.
But it's now that the US-India connection for me now is sort of is part of my daily life, in the sense that there's not a day goes by that I don't communicate with somebody in India, because my work takes me to India every month.
Oh, that's
and so I work in both time zones. US-India connection, which started when I was 12 or 13, continues.
Well, that's you should be a some kind of an emissary or something for between the countries.
In a way, I am. In a way, I am in connecting the peoples of the two countries. So, and I'm involved in a lot of things which involves the cross border, either investment, trade, philanthropy, whatever. It's all for me. These are the two sort of hubs of my life.
That is fascinating. Awesome. Well, good. You know what? I think this feels like a good place where we could kind of resolve this, and maybe we can have another time together.
Yeah, we can talk about other things.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you. Thank you for your time.
It's been really nice talking to you.
Yeah, same here. And we'll see you next time.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, bye.